Maybe movies.
Oh shit! Oh Jesus, you're here again.
What?
Did I say you could sleep?
How did...
How did you get here? Is that have you fallen out with the moment?
What?
Is that how you got?
I don't understand.
Neither do I. I'm the only one who's allowed to sleep in here.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on?
We appear to be back in the Delirium.
Oh, God.
Did you hear something? Somebody said wake up.
Uh,
Not so. Hand?
you think it...
Okay. Well,
But,
yeah.
hey,
Here.
I don't remember going home.
I don't think you've been home for weeks. I'm going to have to charge rent. In fact, I don't think I've paid rent in weeks.
What's going on? Okay, well...
I have free wine. I didn't buy more wine.
No, there's beer. There's beer. Thank goodness.
Oh, well, that's something anyway. Cheers.
Cheers indeed. Oh.
I think Halloween's over.
Oh, yeah. When did you take down the decorations?
I didn't.
Okay.
That is a little bit disturbing.
Yep. There's something going on, buddy.
I know. And I'm not sure I like it. And I'm still not sure I like the fact that you have a friendship with a mole man who seems to live on property somewhere.
The weird thing is, I can't even remember when I met him.
Well, I seem to remember at some point we suggested that he was over there somewhere, so maybe we should go have a look in the cupboard at some point.
Might work.
Yeah, that's all the way over there, though. I'm far too comfortable here.
Alright, look, I can't cope with this. We need to talk about something else.
Okay, yeah. What do you have in mind?
Well, you know, we've been talking about a bunch of movies recently.
We have been talking about a bunch of movies with you.
And I had a thought. One that I'd really like. I loved it so much when I was a teenager. I watched that film to death. I think at some point I probably could have quoted the entire script of it.
So hang on a second. You're bringing me a movie?
I think so. I think I am.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm listening.
How do you feel about Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
You know Ferris Bueller.
I wish I did. When I was at school, I would have loved to have known somebody like Ferris.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's an interesting one.
But the thing is, I'm not quite sure what an appropriate movie to pair it up with is.
I have to have a think. This feels a bit like a challenge here.
I had some thoughts, but they didn't quite go where I wanted them to. Ah, The Shelf.
Yeah, there's a reasonable selection.
There's a few on there.
Oh, I know.
You do?
I am Jack's ace in the hole. There was a thing. I remember seeing it online a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
I think it was done by a journalist in about 2009. I wish I knew the guy's name. I'll have to have a look. If I can find it, I'll put it in the description. Why am I saying that?
I don't know.
It just seems an appropriate thing to say. It's just
every time we start talking about films, these things just come out of our mouths. I don't know what's going on anymore.
exactly. It's like I feel like I want to just kind of like talk over there for a while, and I don't know why.
It's a strange attraction. Definitely.
But yes, there was a journalist who wrote a thing, and there was a postulation on an idea that Ferris Bueller doesn't exist, and that he is simply an invention of Cameron's. Effectively, he is Cameron's Tyler Durden.
Oh! Oh, I see where you're going here. I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued.
If you're up for it, let's...
Okay. Oh, it's going to be insane. You realise that?
I can feel myself being drawn, though, to have to say a few things in that kind of direction. In fact, a bit more in this direction.
Oh,
so I'm going to have to run with that for a minute. I'm really sorry.
That's okay.
It feels
I understand.
Yeah. So to anybody who's out there who might be watching, crap, what's the pregnancy like this? Welcome back to Maybe Movies, episode 11. We are now firmly in double figures.
Yay!
And
almost teens.
Almost. Not quite. Because then we have to go, oh, I hate you, and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't quite have the hair for it anymore.
I don't know, I could give it a go maybe.
No, fuck off. Yes, welcome back. So we have survived Halloween. We are on course for Christmas, but not quite there yet. Oh. So before we begin, as if you've been to the channel before, or if you're new, then this is our show. We take a couple of films, we take the protagonists, or occasionally the antagonists, from those films, and swap them, and then discuss how a new movie could be made with a completely different central character. It looks like this month it is going to be Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Fight Club.
Yay. I'm looking forward to this. Should be interesting.
So thank you to the journalist whose name I've forgotten. I will look it up and make sure it's in the description to give you proper credit for the idea of Ferris Bueller actually being a Fight Club-esque story. Before we go any further, I have a couple of very quick shout-outs do to friends and fellow content creators and creatives in general. One of them I will have to go onto my phone for because it's one of those things that I know a little bit about, but I should really know more, which I do apologise. So this is to Longcat Media's Mockery Manor, in particular to a few friends of mine who are in the show, Hayley Everett and James Ducker, and also Peter Salbutz, an old friend and director from the Manor Market Theatre. And their podcast, just to go from the blurb that's on their website, it says, it's summer 1989. Mockery Manor Amusement Park reopens its doors, determined to bury its dark past and becomes Britain's eccentric answer to Disneyland. But new recruit JJ soon discovers that blood is baked into the park's foundations, that secrets abound, and the British are terrible at customer service. So yeah, if you're interested in that, then do check them out. They're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. And also looking at the website here, they were a nominee for British Podcast Awards of the Year this year.
Oh, very nice.
So give them a look. And the other shout out is to a local band, and again, another great bunch of guys, and some great friends as well, who are the Phantom Cowboys. I have stuck their recent EP up there.
Ding, 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 ding.
There will be a card to their channel somewhere in this portion of the video. They're a surf psychobilly band, started in the mid-90s, and then went away for a while, and then they've been back again for about the past 4 or 5 years. They are working on their new album, which should be out, I think they were hoping for this year, so it should be next year. Their new album will be out.
Oh, fingers crossed.
I've got to see them several times, and they are wonderful number of guys. So if anybody's looking at stuff around the set, you'll see there's a backstage pass up there to the Beardy Theory Festival, which I went to with them last year. They had a spare weekend pass, which they gave me.
Oh, very nice.
Which is brilliant.
Cool.
Yeah, so do have a look at their channel, and obviously if you have a venue, as and when we can do it again, and you want to book a band, they come with their own entourage. And now I feel like I'm being drawn back into Delirium. So I think, unless you have anything you would like to add?
I have nothing to say this time now.
Okay, so...
But thank you for asking.
Of course. Let's see where this leads.
Well, I'll start by saying I've got a small surprise for you.
You have?
I have. You see, for I too have a secret
weapon.
I took notes.
Brilliant.
I took notes.
Which is excellent because guess what? I haven't. I haven't had time to have a look at it yet. I thought for the pitch meeting.
Well, we've certainly got to discuss it all before we get into the nitty gritty.
Exactly. I
Because
thought I'd be
there's quite a
okay.
bit going on there, isn't there?
Yes. I mean, as you probably figured, a lot of the notes that I make tend to be on things and incidental things that I see in the films themselves. So at this point, I think I'm good to fly Commando.
Okay.
Commando sausage, for those who know what I'm talking about. I'll explain that another time. Okay, yes. How do we want to approach this? I mean...
Right, okay. Well, I mean, so we want to start with some basic rules. I mean, on the Fight Club side, the basic rules are pretty clear. They're laid out in the film, like who's real, who's not, what happened when, pretty clear. But now we got to go, okay, so what about the Ferris side of things? Ferris is Cameron's id, his other side.
I suppose that is the first point.
Because it really makes sense. It does.
If we are swapping... so in this case then, we are not taking characters out of their respective movies. Are we? Or are we? Are we saying that then the setup for Ferris Bueller is that Ferris doesn't exist? And it's all in Cameron's head? And in which case, by extension, we're saying that Tyler Durden is real. Fight Club?
I see what you're saying.
Or are we
I hadn't considered that.
Or are we literally taking Tyler, the narrator, out and putting them in Ferris Bueller as if they were in high school, and taking Cameron and Ferris and putting them in Fight Club?
Well, this is very much what when I said, this is
okay.
going to be a little bit crazy.
Yes.
That's no. I don't have a clever answer, but that's what I meant when I said this is going to be a little bit crazy. This is going to be a little bit odd. So the question is, what are we doing? What is the premise here? I suppose we're saying at the start that we're taking that journalist's theory as fact. So both movies include a fictional character who's their better looking, more sociable, better skilled alter ego. Yes.
It's they're the
because Ferris
they're the Jekyll to their own perceived Hyde, if you like. Even though they're actually the Hyde. Ferris
is a scarily skilled individual when you actually look what he does in that movie.
Oh, absolutely.
He impersonates multiple people successfully. He hacks the school computer system and alters his own records. And uses clever telephone exchange systems to fool a number of people.
Absolutely.
He is a kind of evil genius, but that's the thing, and they're both rebels, because Tyler is very much an iconoclastic, rebellious person, but the rebellions are different. They're both rebels, they're both iconoclasts in their own way, but their rebellions are different, because I suppose Ferris is more about living it up, whereas Tyler's more about living it down.
Ferris is certainly he's more about a free ride within the system, whereas Tyler is very much about tearing the system down.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So, yes, you're right. There is a lot to discuss. I mean, generally speaking, with these in the past, it has always been a case of
just
straight up swap the protagonist to see what happens, or, as we saw last time, swap the antagonist and see what happens.
Yeah.
But here, we're straying into the territory of swapping narratives as opposed to swapping characters. And in the first case, the first question is then, does that break the basic premise or tenets of the show? Which I think it does.
I think you've probably got a point. Because why would a high schooler have the experience that the narrative of Fight Club is?
Yeah.
And vice versa. Why would, I don't know. I could imagine Tyler existing in the school system.
Yeah.
But I have difficulty imagining the other way around. I have real problems with it. And to understand how that could even work.
Especially with so much of these films, so much of the plot is driven by their actions. They are not reacting to events, they are the catalyst for events.
Yeah.
And therefore you will end up with two vastly different movies, because it's like, well, okay, is Tyler going to try and start a fight club at his high school?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to swap personalities is what you'd have to do, isn't it? You'd have to make Tyler want to make someone have a good time and make Ferris want to break someone down so they can build them back up. And that's like, then we're not exchanging characters anymore, are we? So how do you do this? I love the idea, but I'm just like, how do we do this?
Well, there is a way that it does become interesting. Because Ferris then becomes the imaginary friend. It means that his actions and his capabilities are increased to the nth degree because he has no boundaries. Whereas inversely, Tyler's influence and impact is diminished because he is a real person.
Oh.
He can be the way that he is because he doesn't exist. He is the idyll that the narrator aspires to.
I think I get it now. I think I was missing the fundamental point. So the idea is that Tyler is real and Ferris is not.
I am literally suggesting this in the moment because I hadn't actually thought that far ahead.
Yeah, no. It's such an exciting idea.
Because otherwise,
you mentioned it, it's like, yeah, but there are things, yes.
Because my initial thought when I thought about it was if we swap them, then that kind of makes a boring story with Fight Club because he's real, it doesn't matter. But then suddenly, actually, no, it does matter because he cannot get away with half the things that he does.
Yes.
Because he has all of the concerns of a real person, because he is a real person.
Tyler is a real human being that Jack really meant on a flight between places.
I just had a light bulb.
Oh, you did? Okay. What's the ding-ding?
What's the ding-ding? I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. I really don't.
There is never going to be a card with that saying, what's the ding-ding? Although there might be. It depends. We'll leave that up to others. So obviously we've talked about Tyler, we've talked about Cameron, we've talked about the protagonists. So I have a suggestion. I have some cards to lay on the table.
It doesn't work because you are kind of swapping plots, not the actual story of the films, but the structure of the plot that lies behind it.
Yeah.
One person we think we're dealing with, two people and we're not. And then we have this real interaction between some really crazy individual. So it is kind of swapping plots. It does.
I can raise you though.
Okay, go on.
So we do that. That's our basic premise. Is we will swap. So yeah, Ferris becomes the imaginary friend. Tyler's a real person.
Oh, of course.
But to make sure that it absolutely maintains being maybe movies, we do need to still swap his character in the same way that we swapped extras with Baby Samuel and things like that.
Oh, of course, right, yeah. Somebody has to cross over, don't they? All right, what are you thinking?
So let's swap Sloane and Martha Singer. Or Marla Singer. Sorry, Martha and Marla Singer.
Okay.
Just again, that still ticks that box for us in terms of what we've always done.
Oh yeah, no, it does interesting things. It does interesting things. Conversations will go very differently. Because it's going to put Sloane in some interesting positions.
Yes.
Literally.
Yeah, literally, yes.
Sorry. I know I shouldn't have, but I did.
Come on, as a child of the 80s, come on, really. Just
sorry. Yeah.
If I can find a graphic of a culture.
Yes, I think you should. Yeah, that feels like a fair swap. It's going to do very strange things to the narrative, and I think that's what I like about it.
Yes.
I think it's a fair swap. But so you're right. Somebody needs to swap over, otherwise we're not really moving.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think you're right there. That's a good call.
Because I must admit, on the short time that I had to think about it, my initial thought was, we could just swap the characters over and see what happens. But it's not like previous ones.
You literally need them to be different people.
Yes, because the actors are too old for one.
Yeah.
And yes, okay, I know casting actors who are not in high school, like the best example being Steve McQueen in The Blob, in his 30s playing a high school jock. Yeah, we need something that we can do with that. And yeah, I reckon we could do that. I think swapping Mia Sara and
Helena Bonham Carter.
Yes.
I know I keep getting this strange expression on my face because I am absolutely blown away by the concept of some of these conversations that we're going to get in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
This might not be a John Hughes film by the end of it. We'll have to see how the actual film turns out, won't we?
Okay, so we have a basic starting point.
Yes, I think we do.
Now, how do we want to approach this? Do we want to do it? Do we want to just leap in and do? I mean, I know there's still a few things to figure out sort of narratively about it, but I mean, are we just going to go through it as normal, like scene by scene, or do we want to look at it, approach it differently? Because their narrative structures they're not oblique exactly, but they're. I mean, Ferris has
journeys.
They're both journeys. Ferris has a bit more of an established kind of arc.
Yes.
Like narrative film arc.
Yes.
Than Fight Club. So it's how do we approach that, and I mean, how do we want to come together with ideas?
Well, I suppose, I mean, we could go through the whole thing. But I know, I mean, in Fight Club.
Fight Club.
Yeah.
With claws.
In Fight Club,
An awful lot happens.
It does.
An awful lot happens.
And it's a longer timeline as well.
Yes.
Because the events happen over like a year or something?
Oh, at least. At least. There's a bit when Marla says, I haven't seen you for 8 months.
Mm. Yes. Yeah, she does. Yeah, when she phones him up, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a long time. I think possibly even a couple of years in the timeline. But, I mean, that's not so much of a problem, you know, because they're still journeys. They're a progression, a journey towards a particular place and an attempt to return back. With varying degrees of success. I don't know. It just feels like we could spend a very long time talking about all of the finite details.
Yes, and something tells me that for some reason I just get this. It's strange. Kind of when just mentioning that just gives me this sensation of this massive workload landing on my shoulders.
Yes. Yes.
And it's kind of, you can probably see it. It's kind of weighing me down.
I think, though, if we think about it, we could probably break the movies down into into key scenes, because there's in both of them there's a lot of business and things that happen that aren't necessarily important. They're just, I mean, like Fight Club is very dialogue heavy, and of course, I mean, you get a lot of business like with in Ferris Bueller with Principal Rooney and things like that aren't even dialogue. It's just something happening as an aside.
Yeah.
And they're not essential to the plot. Like when he goes into the arcade and confronts the girl thinking it's Ferris because she's wearing the same jacket.
Yes.
Things like that. They're not really important to the story. Do we need to go through every single
No, of course not. No.
scene and bit of dialogue? So maybe try and pick out the moments that are like...
Okay.
I mean, you know, obviously we might have different opinions about what those key scenes might be.
Oh, that's a good idea, actually, yeah.
you know,
So maybe we should pick our favourite scenes.
Okay. That sounds like a brilliant idea. Well done. I forgot. I forgot what I noticed last time. I've not been giving you gold stars. I feel like I've been disenfranchising you within the sphere of stars. So have a gold star.
Thank you very much. I'll take that gold star. Stick around there.
Okay, so if we're gonna look at key scenes, then so as we tend to do, then so we say break it down into acts.
Well, it is what Hollywood tends to do, isn't it?
Unfortunately,
it's kind of an inbuilt structure that you can kind of use.
I do like that. And again, I know it's a bit of a tangent. It's a
be...
discussion for another time. But that's always that difference between, say, like Hollywood films and why a lot of especially kind of European films are considered more art house films.
Yes, I mean there are definitely exceptions to that rule.
Yeah, they're definitely more story driven as opposed to act structure driven.
Yeah, not driven by their plot; they're driven by their story. Yeah.
So yeah, so we look at trying to break them down into acts, and then maybe I don't know a few key scenes. I don't know what you'd say would be a good number.
Well, if we don't want to spend ages accidentally breaking it back down into tiny little bits again, we should keep it a fairly small number. Like maybe a small number per. If we're going to go with the 3-act structure, maybe a small, like maybe 3 or 4. I mean, You could go as high as like 5 or 6, but then you start getting into talking about a lot of scenes, especially if we're both going to have different lists.
Well, exactly. So let's say 3 or 4 is perfect.
Okay, cool.
Because
Cool.
then
That sounds great.
potentially we would be looking at 5 or 6, depending on what we put down.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes we might double up on the same scene,
Yeah.
but even then we'll probably have different ideas.
Exactly, and that's a wonderful point of discussion because we can see then if we're going to meld those ideas together to find
To
out
create
come up with something that we're both happy with.
Yeah, absolutely. That seems like that's something we could do.
All right, so let's go with 3.
Cool. 3 is great.
3 act structure, 3 scenes works.
Yeah. I like that.
And then we will allow ourselves an extra 1 each. If there is one in particular, we would like an also
fit in.
Yeah, like an also ran
Okay.
that we kind of think maybe I'd like to an honorary mention.
Honorary mention. I like that. Yes. Yes, because there are times either where a scene doesn't fit easily into one of the acts or it's just extra, but you really want to talk about it. That would make sense. Yeah. We don't want to limit ourselves too much. Otherwise, we can't have a proper conversation, can we?
No, exactly. And all of a sudden, I feel very much lighter around the shoulders.
Yes.
I can't think why. It's just something in the back of my head is saying that sounds like something good. Okay, so which one do we want to go with first? So, is there anything else, first of all, that we need to, any other rules that we want to observe? Obviously, so let's just go through the list.
Okay, well, for starters, just to go back to our initial presumptions about the film. So if we're swapping the girls, we're swapping their ages, yes?
Yes.
So Marla is now a high school girl and Sloane is a 25-year-old.
Something like that, yeah.
It's never really explicit, but something like that at least, isn't it? Okay, that's good, but I did want to be clear on that because otherwise it could get weird.
It could get very weird.
Yeah. Okay.
But it would still probably be played by Helena Bonham Carter. Just
Oh, absolutely,
Yes.
yes. Yeah, well, she's one of those people that just doesn't seem to age.
No.
She really doesn't. Yeah, I'm so envious of people like that. Really am.
It's like I must admit, I did notice. I think it was one time when I was watching Fight Club a while ago, and there are analogies in her acting style in that film.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at her look and her facial structure and things like that, it's like you really are the female Johnny Depp.
Yes.
There's definitely that.
Yes.
So when I got to see things like
I do understand what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah. So when I got to see things like Dark Shadows, when they're both in it, it's
of course. Yes.
From the top.
Yes.
We are swapping the basic tenet that in a new version of Ferris Bueller, Ferris doesn't exist. He's a figment of Cameron's imagination.
Yes.
In a new version of Fight Club, Tyler Durden does exist.
Yes.
He is not a figment of the narrator's imagination.
Yes.
And how all of that is wonderful stuff is going to play out. But to maintain ourselves as still being maybe movies, we are taking Sloane and dropping her as a mid-20s somebody who likes going to support groups.
Yes.
And we're taking Marla Singer a few years after grade school.
Yeah.
And putting her in as a high school student who, and again we will come to this I'm sure, is or isn't involved with Cameron.
Yes.
Because
I was already thinking about that. Like, who is she actually involved with?
Well, see, the thing
Or at least who does she think she's involved with?
Well, the thing in the article that I remember reading about this idea was the sequence of that day is simply him walking around town and walking around Chicago, and all of these experiences are happening in his head because he wants to be Ferris Bueller because that's the kind of person he thinks he has to be going out with Sloane. She's the girl that he loves, but
So Sloane's not really there either?
well, just the way it was written is that the film happens that she's there and about, and he keeps seeing her about the place. Obviously, we don't have to take that track.
I was going to say, it doesn't work so well for me, that part of it.
Okay, then let's forget about that.
Well, because she interacts.
Yeah.
And she interacts with Ferris and Cameron. And obviously we'll have to discuss that when we get to it.
We'll have to discuss it more. But
But
yes.
I think she needs to be real.
Yes. Oh, yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think the question is, who does she think she's dating?
Yeah.
You know, is Ferris entirely in Cameron's head? Or, if you know what I mean, you know, you know, I had an amazingly clever thought and then it just slipped away.
Don't think about it, it'll come back on its own.
Is Ferris entirely in his imagination and he just acts differently when he's being Ferris? Or do they exist as separate personalities? Like different behaviours and things like that? Because, you know, if he's only talking when he thinks he's Ferris, or if he's only talking in real life when he thinks he's Cameron, which version of them is having the actual conversation with Marla or Sloane? Because obviously it's not Sloane, so in this version, it's not necessarily said and done.
So this also then begs the question, do we want to add in then a... Sorry, I didn't mean to cut over you, but it's do we want to expand our remit slightly for this particular one, which we haven't done before, and say Ferris Bueller's Day Off, a film by David Fincher,
Yes.
and Fight Club, a film by John Hughes.
That's going to get very weird.
Again, just an idea. I know we're throwing in a lot of new things, but
Yeah, why not?
we haven't
Why not
done it
if we're
before.
playing?
So then we can. So then it means we can bring in that very kind of obvious device of they're never in the same room together.
So she doesn't know who she's.
There are a lot of times, I have to admit, when I took notes, I noticed that that there are interactions with Sloane and Ferris, and that there are interactions with Cameron and Sloane.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one scene that causes problems that I can see, but a lot of times it's like, oh, you could see that. It's easy to read. It's not, you know, there's only a couple of scenes that cause problems, but as a general thing, if you look at the film and you think that way, it's kind of already there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, did you never notice how Ferris seems to know what Cameron's thinking?
Oh yes, I did.
Phones him up to tell him to stop thinking the thing he's thinking.
Yes.
You know, it's already there.
Okay, so let's go back. So I have to go back to the start.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine because we've changed things. That's part of the whole point of this.
Yes, of course it is. It's discuss.
So, as we said from the top, so Ferris doesn't exist, but
Mhm.
Tyler does.
Yes.
Marla Singer is now a high school student,
Yes.
and Sloane is now in her mid-20s.
Yes.
And each of the films are made by each other's director,
Yes, that's the only thing that really does make sense.
Yes.
so that we can bring in the tropes of those directors pertinent to their original films to inform the narrative of our new films.
So what would happen if David Fincher tried to make a teen movie?
Oh, this is going to be so much fun.
I have to admit, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not sure it's going to work, but I'm looking forward to the discussion. I really am.
And as we said, we're going to look at doing 3 scenes each with an honorary scene that we can throw in if we need to, or just as
Does
an
it
Do we
honorary
throw
mention
it
at the
in any old time, or do we wait save it for the end as an honorary?
I think save it till the end.
Okay then. Brilliant.
Yeah, I think that sounds best. So that's. I think we have a pitch meeting.
We're there.
We just need to do some homework.
Yes, yes.
Bagsy, I go first on the TV because I'm assuming you're still going to be here.
I'm not sure I can leave at this point.
Okay, that's. Have we gone down the rabbit hole?
Okay, I get dips on the shower first.
Do you want to use my towels?
What am I supposed to do, man?
All right. Okay. Fair enough. That means I get dibs on the toilet.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't think that went through.
No, I don't think you did.
Anyway, so yes, please come back and join us next time on Maybe Movies, where we'll be jumping into this in a big way. Actually, no.
What? Have we forgotten something?
We have forgotten something very important.
Oh no, what have we forgotten?
Which one are we doing first?
Oh God, yes. That was the question you asked like 10 minutes ago. Which one are we doing first?
You know, when you first suggested it, my first instinct would have been to say, let's do Fight Club first. But actually, I'm really intrigued to see what Marla Singer is going to do to the world of Cameron Fry.
Yes, I agree.
So my nomination is for Ferris first.
Absolutely, yes.
I must admit, I think that's the easier one. Well, from the outside, it's the easier one structure-wise to look at.
It is simpler. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So sorry for that. We had to do a bit of an aside there, but yes, please do come back and join us next week for episode 2 of our 4-act structure, where we will be looking how Marla Singer gets on as a high school student, directed by David Fincher in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where Ferris Bueller is a figment of Cameron's imagination.
Should be fun.
And as always, if you are new to the channel, then please do consider liking and sharing and subscribing. Please do leave us a comment if you have anything that you may like us to incorporate into what we do, because we're always open to suggestions. If you have any ideas how you think this might turn out, then please let us know.
So, have fun, folks. Take care of yourselves, and TTFN.
Ba 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 ba.